like when a person doesn't have to shovel. So,
Yeah.
We're live. About 1 more minute, we'll be starting. Well, my clock says 6:30, so I would like to call this meeting to order. It is the City of Warman regular meeting of council for Monday, April 12th, 2021. We were hoping to start having in-person meetings, but with the variant out there, we have made the decision to continue with our online meetings for April, and we'll evaluate at that time at the end of April. So welcome to the Warman meeting, and we'll start. Is there any announcements? I just want to mention one that I had Terry Pugh from the Gazette get a hold of me that relatives of Cy Warman's reach out to him, and then he passed it forward to me that they want to come and visit Warman. And that's great. We've had some relations in the past, and I know Terry's been a catalyst to make that happen. There's a full display at the Legends Center if you want to see some of the history and some of the work that's been done over the past few years. And I'm looking forward to having them here. I told them this summer may not work as they are from the States. And I said we will be very precautious on our visits until we know we can have access to everything. So that's exciting. So any other announcements? Okay, we'll move to an approval of the agenda then. Councillor Peterson.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the April 12th, 2021 regular meeting of council agenda as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Tooley. Any changes, any additions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Carried. Move down to minutes. Motion, please. Councillor Johnson.
I make the motion to adopt the minutes from the March 15, 2021 Committee of the Whole meeting and the March 22nd, 2021 regular meeting of council as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Beck. Any questions from the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Carried. Move down to administration reports. We'll start out with planning. Manager Toll.
Thank you, Mayor Philipchuk, members of council. A few items for discussion tonight. The first is an RFP for Clubhouse Boulevard and First Avenue. As council remember, they directed administration to do an invite tender. The three firms selected to send the invite tender to were Associated Engineering, Stantec Consulting, and Catterall and Wright. I've provided the scoring that was included within the RFP, which administration used to review the proposals. As you'll see, Stantec Consulting scored the highest at 90.73, Associated Engineering second at 85.99, and Catterall and Wright the lowest at 84.5. Catterall and Wright had the lowest price, although Stantec was not far behind, so the point allocation between those two for the 25 points for fees were quite close. Unfortunately, Associated Engineer was the highest, so they received the least amount of points, and that hurt their proposal overall. Generally speaking, all three prices were fairly tight, leading me to believe that our scope was fairly consistent or was understood fairly consistent between all three of the firms that we asked to bid. Out of all three proposals, obviously we did score Stantec the highest, mainly for their capacity to complete the project and the project team and experience with these types of projects. Stantec scored slightly lower than the other two firms in project comprehension. However, we did follow up with a phone interview once it was confirmed that they were the highest score. just to confirm some of the scope of the project. And it was believed after that phone call that they did have a very good understanding of scope and would follow through with the direction of council. Although not a factor when scoring or when it's considered when scoring, we should note that Stantec Consulting did perform the traffic counts that were undertook in 2019. We have provided, I guess, 3 options for council to consider tonight. The first is that they follow through with administration's recommendations to award the safety review of Clubhouse Boulevard and First Avenue to Stantec Consulting for a bid price of $14,115. The second option is that we award the contract to one of the other 2 firms who bid on the RFP but were not recommended by administration. And third is that we do not proceed with the safety review of the intersection at this time. The proposals were sent to council as an information email last week. So the recommendation tonight is that council award the contract for the safety review of the intersection of Clubhouse Boulevard and First Avenue to Stantec Consulting for a bid price of $14,115.
Motion, please. Councillor Ramage.
I move that Stantec Consulting be awarded the contract for the safety review of the intersection of Clubhouse Boulevard and First Avenue North for the bid price of $14,115, and that these funds, which are over and above the budgeted amount, be drawn from the contingency reserve.
Seconder. Councillor Seed. Questions, comments? Councillor Johnson.
I'm just having a tough time with this. I want a lot more. I need some more information. 14,000 we're dipping into the reserves for. My understanding is that 14 to 16 months that the developer will be kind of looking at that Augusta Boulevard extension. While I completely empathize with the congestion, my biggest worry on that clubhouse is the speed. So I'm a little worried about that 14,000 coming out of reserves and that kind of stuff, especially when it seemed to be moving fairly well, the congestion, and that there was some offers of different solutions that might alleviate some of that. But I'm really having a tough time with that, justifying that $14,000 coming out.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. I'd just like to note too that in all 3 proposals, there was mention of speeding on Clubhouse, and that would be considered when looking at the overall report, but definitely do appreciate the comments. Bob and I have met with some different representatives of both the school board and the schools to discuss some different options. We did let them know that this RFP was out there and that it would be coming to council for some consideration today.
Okay, Councillor Beck was next.
Thank you, Mayor Philip. Yeah, so my comments are just kind of let's say kind of surrounding, let's say, like the proposals and let's say how that they were scored. Certainly this year, like obviously the 2 firms were fairly close there, and certainly like it's reported on, let's say like on the aggregate, but let's say individually, like it would be nice to kind of see the breakdown, that administration had. For example, hypothetically with the projects that did come in, if the, let's say, project experience for one was scored really, really high over let's say like another firm, that they're, certainly might make the difference in terms of which company would be selected when it is so close like that. So, that was just something that I put out there. I'm like, it's nice to see like the overall breakdown of the 100% score and also where everybody finished, but it would also be helpful for let's say like another graph showing how each of them scored for each of those components, just for greater transparency on that. Thank you.
For sure. And I can say that both Stantec Consulting and Associate Engineers scored pretty much similar on corporate profile capacity, proposed consultant team, project experience, and project comprehension. The big, I guess, factor for Associated Engineering and where they lost the majority of their points was, again, they're at price, where right off the bat, they were pretty much down, 10 points just based on kind of being that highest price. So for price, Catterall and Wright obviously being the lowest, scored the highest with 25 points. Stantec Consulting just behind them at 24.73 points, and then Associated Engineering at 15.99. So that price definitely is kind of was the determining factor, I guess, between what would have been the two top, which was Stantec and Associated, based on kind of all the other factors put together.
Okay. Councillor Seed.
Thank you, Mayor Philip. I just wanted to make a comment after reading all of the proposals that were presented to us by administration. It did seem that Stantec seemed to have the most comprehensive grasp on the overall scope that we were looking at. Obviously, Manager Toth also explained that he felt that they were the most conclusive to what we were looking for. To comment a little bit on Councillor Johnson's message there as well with the speeding on Clubhouse, echoing what Manager Tooth had said as well. Speeding is, of course, a huge issue there. I don't think it's something that we need to take lightly, nor do I suggest anybody is with spending $14,000 to do this. But I would like to echo the fact that this is, since November, this is probably top 2 or top 3 issues that I've heard from residents that this is a massive concern. And I really feel that as a council, we're doing our due diligence to not only hear their concerns, but take the necessary action to see if there is corrective action. And I really look forward to seeing what they say, whether that is, a light standard, no light standard. These are the reasons for, and it's something that I really look forward to sharing with constituents, because it's something that has been a very, very hot topic in Warman. So I also wanted to just thank administration for getting to put together quite quickly, in my opinion. So thank you.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Councillor Peterson.
I have to say that I'm not in favor of spending this money. We have a traffic plan. It spells out where and when we have, signs or we have lights and that. And when there is development obviously coming, it's underway. They're anticipated that there will be roadways coming in and out of there coming. I believe that we're going to get a report that's going to pretty much say something very similar to what we already have. I would be shocked if it was something different, or what we've already heard, and that is that once there's more build out, they'll be easier to get in and out. Speeding, to me, that's an RCMP enforcement issue. It's not an intersection issue. It's not a roadway issue. That's an RCMP enforcement issue. And certainly to spend $14,000 just to be told what we've already been heard is to me, it's a huge waste of money. For the brief times that people are having trouble coming in and out, it would be solved with people going right in, right out. Spending an extra 2 minutes driving around the block so that they can go right in and right out, just adjusting their path of travel, it would solve it. And I think to spend $14,000 because people want to go straight across, or they want to turn left and don't want to deviate from the way that they think they should drive, I think is not doing justice to our budget. So I will be voting against this.
Other questions or comments? I'll just make a couple comments, and I sort of I'll sort of agree with Councillor Johnson with some of it. Seeing some of the STEM work that I'm seeing right now on both ends, I just think about how that plays out and what will that look like, because that was one of the first things that we sort of talked about, is having that other in and out to that area. Would that alleviate the issue? And also, speeding is an RCMP enforcement. That's where we have to have it in every area. We have to watch getting into some of the other aspects to dealing with the speeding. But I think our RCMP are aware of our main areas, and I know they're working on some of those areas now. It does seem like a 20-minute in the morning, 20-minute in the afternoon issue, and it is, I'm sympathetic to the people that, especially when buses don't run. It's terrible. And I know I've talked to administration, are there other ways to handle that? And this year's another one where it's alleviated that they're not even, parents are told not to send their kids on the bus if at all possible, because trying to have as few contacts as possible. So I'm hesitant myself, and for some of the reasons spoken about at this amount. I was thinking if it was 5,000 or less, I was a little bit more open to listening. I guess whatever the decision is, I just know that if we go through with the report, that we follow what it is, because if we already have a predetermined idea of what it should be, then we're probably wasting the money. But so I guess that's always the challenge. I just want to say my part there. Councilor Ramage.
Thanks very much, Mayor Philipchuk. I really appreciate the work of administration in terms of getting this turned around really quickly. And I echo Councillor Seed's comments that this has been probably one of the more discussed issues that I've heard about in the city. My feeling is for $14,000, we can put this issue to bed. We do have a traffic master plan. However, that looks at things at a citywide level. And I think that we are having issues specific to this intersection that my concern would be, we don't know what the impacts will be as development continues. And this is our opportunity to understand how the Augusta Boulevard extension would impact any of the traffic patterns in the area. So I will be voting to support administration's recommendation, and I would call for a recorded vote on this issue, please.
Motion for recorded vote, yes. Okay, and seconder, Councillor Beck? No. Okay, he's just calling for a recorded vote. That's all we need there. Anything else, Councillor Ramage? Councillor Tooley was next, and then Councillor Beck.
Yep.
I just want to, I guess, address or hit on, I guess, a couple of concerns that I've got as well. And I mean, the biggest concern that I've got is that we're going to be spending sort of a sum of money that we haven't budgeted for to look at a problem that realistically, to me, the problem is we've got a neighborhood that isn't completely built out yet at this point. All the access and egress points of that neighborhood aren't completed. And we're really throwing some money at something that ultimately, as that neighborhood develops more, I believe is going to become better. Or realistically, it might even be a different problem than we're foreseeing right now. Because then the problem right now is that we just don't know what it's going to look like because that neighborhood isn't completely built out yet. And so, I mean, realistically, we're going to be spending, you know, again, a budgeted sum a sum that wasn't budgeted for this year to come up with a report that, quite honestly, I don't know what we're going to do with that report. It's going to come out with a series of different recommendations that are all going to come with some fairly hefty price tags that are going to be sort of the solutions to the issue or potential solutions to an issue that, one, once the neighborhood's developed, that issue might be gone. But two, there also could be hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of recommendations coming out of this report that may be for nothing. So I do have some serious concerns about moving forward with this in the way that it's being proposed right now. I would much rather see something like this done if this problem still exists once the neighborhood is fully developed and we know what the full picture looks like. Because right now we're making decisions on really just a fraction of the information that's going to be there once that neighborhood's fully built out. And yes, I do fully, understand that there is an issue there right now in the short term, but I think it is a short-term issue.
Councillor Beck.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Philipchuk. Yeah, and my comments are, let's say, based on what you had certainly highlighted there, Gary. is, with this year, like there will be, let's say, access at some future date. However, we don't know exactly what that date is. It's not like we are the ones that are actually constructing it or have that, that timeline or a guarantee from another party to let's say build it and have that access. And certainly with this year, like there is, quite a bit of, priority and concern around this from our residents. So, seeing that while yes, in the future, it might have a potential solution. In the short term, we still have, let's say, some safety concerns here to certainly deal with. So I guess that kind of touches on both, Gary, like some of the points there that you put forward, and also, Councillor Tooley there also. So with this year, it would be great if we had more time. But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, like it certainly looks like there's enough of an issue there that we need to certainly identify how we should go forward, and certainly.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, and hold your hands up with this. I'll call the question then. All those in favor? And opposed? It's defeated. Is there someone else wanting to make another motion with this aspect? Because there's other parts on the table here. Okay, I guess we'll move on then.
Thank you, Mayor Filchuk. The next item for discussion tonight is a discretionary use for a chiropractor clinic, which is considered a medical office and clinic under the zoning bylaw for bays 2 and 3 of 511 Industrial Road. An application has been received to relocate an existing chiropractic clinic from 6th Avenue South to bays 2 and 3 at 511 Industrial Road. The owner is proposing to expand the business to include a gym component. It should be noted that the discretionary approval only applies to the chiropractor component of the applications, as gyms are considered a permitted use in this district. We did receive one call requesting further information. The main concern from the call was the number of gyms located in a close proximity to one another. It was communicated that the city does not regulate the number of businesses located within a specific area, but rather the zoning. It was also explained to the caller that the gym is permitted and does not require council approval, but that it would be the clinic component that is up for discussion. The caller had no further concerns and did not wish to submit anything formal. As noted, the application meets all requirements of the zoning bylaw and will have adequate parking to meet regulation. Notice was put in the paper for 1 week. Additional notice was sent to property owners within 100 meters. With the exception of the one call noted above, no other concerns were received. I've also submitted for council's information just a small write-up that the owner occupant provided to planning just as a description. And the recommendation tonight is that council approve a medical office and clinic for bays 2 and 3 at 511 Industrial Road.
Councillor Peterson. Motion.
I'd like to make the motion that council approve a medical office and clinic for bays 2 and 3, 511 Industrial Road.
Seconder. Councillor Ramage. Questions or comments? Councillor C.
As per correspondence that I sent out earlier, I need to declare a conflict with this vote because the business in question has some business dealings with the company I'm employed by, and I do stand to financially profit from this business going in. So I'll stand by and just remain silent during the vote if that's appropriate.
Okay. You can even turn your camera off, maybe. Wait. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Carried.
The final item for discussion tonight is the animal control bylaw amendment bylaw 2021-04. As noted, administration is currently reviewing and adjusting bylaws based on best practice and to rectify issues that we're experiencing when enforcing bylaws. Our bylaw officer and community planner went through the animal control bylaw, and it made some additions and changes. The additions include new provisions for animals and vehicles, new provisions about the off-leash dog park, including when you can remove the leash and responsibility for the dog to ensure you can manage the dog and be in control at all times, new provisions for animals in the pound, new provisions for dangerous animals, and new fees penalties for different infractions related to animal control. A copy of the bylaw, including all additions, has been attached as Appendix B. We did provide first reading of bylaw 2021-04 at the regular council meeting on March 22nd, 2021. No advertising or public hearing was required for this bylaw. However, we will communicate the changes through our social media and website. As mentioned above, the majority of these changes do not change practice, but rather put them into policy. So the recommendation tonight is that council follow through with second and third reading of bylaw 2021-04.
Motion for second reading. Councillor Beck.
Thank you. I motion to move that bylaw 2021-04 be read a second time.
Seconder. Councillor Tooley. Any questions or comments? Councillor Peterson.
My only question is around the declaration that the animal control officer may require the animal be muzzled when not on property. I guess, what do we consider evidence would be my first question. And my second question is, what procedures would there be for the owner of the animal to appeal that?
So it would be a rare situation where our bylaw officer would actually require the muzzle. Typically, it would be as a result of an attack or confrontation within the city where the dog was deemed to be dangerous. It's one of those tools that we can use in a situation where there has been an incident with a dog attack, but maybe not to a severe nature where it may warrant a more stricter offense or a penalty. There is not an appeal process for that. It would be a requirement, again, when the dog is deemed to be a dangerous animal. And again, another tool that we would use kind of in the toolbox when doing some enforcement. Typically, I guess if you want kind of the process, if there is an attack, typically what happens if there is a call about a dog attack or an incident, what happens is both parties involved, or if there's multiple parties, provide a statement of kind of what took place. If there is a bite or it's drawn blood, typically the health authority becomes involved. And in some situations, they will actually require the muzzle, or will give some direction to bylaw in terms of what the next steps that they should be taking. But again, it's not a tool that we would use often. It would only be used in kind of unique circumstances where there's been concerns about a dog and it's been proven to be legit.
Okay. My only concern is getting involved between people who don't like each other, and with no clear, I guess with nothing clear about what evidence would be required, or no appeal process or anything, you run the risk of having people, getting involved between disputes, I think.
Yeah, and similar to other bylaws in the city, I guess if someone disagreed with the call, there is always the option to appeal the offense to council, as long as it was the bylaw officer that made that call to issue the muzzle on the animal. So, residents do have an option, I guess, to come to if they believe that maybe they've been treated unfairly or their dog is not a dangerous animal. Again, typically this is not something we see very often. And any of the dog attacks that I've seen since I've been in Warman, they've been pretty straightforward in terms of there's either been witnesses involved and we've received statements from them, or the owner has actually admitted fault with their dog kind of on site, and we've kind of dealt with it through that way. So it hasn't been our experience yet that it's kind of become a he said, she said. Now, that's not saying it can't. But again, I think if a person felt like they were wrongly accused or had some extra regulations on them that weren't fair, they could always appeal to council to review that.
Okay, thank you.
Manager Smith, you had something to add?
Thank you, Worship. Just a little bit further, I think that a fine would be established, and then that would, if there was an appeal, they could appeal to the courts for a non-payment of that fine. So I think there would be an opportunity through the courts to also appeal, because they would be saying that they weren't required to muzzle, etc., and that's why they got the fine. So I think it would be the fine that would actually go through prosecution.
Okay, this is on second reading. Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Peterson, favor or opposed? Okay, it's carried. Okay, we'll go to third reading. Councillor C.
Make the motion. I move the bylaw 2021-04, bylaw to amend bylaw 2013-27, known as the animal control bylaw, be read a third time and passed, and that the bylaw 2021-04 be adopted, sealed, and signed by the mayor and city clerk.
Seconder. Councillor Johnson. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried.
Thank
And
you.
as
That concludes my
Councillor
report.
Peterson mentioned, he was in favor of the one previous when he froze, just for the record. Okay, let's move down to recreation.
Good evening, Mayor Philipchuk, members of council. I bring to you tonight one item for your attention, and that is the RFP for the LED replacement project at the Legend Center. The RFP closed last week. We had 10 submissions for the project, and as you can see, Albright Electric has the best pricing out of the 10. The RFP was very specific, so we were comparing apples to apples. PWA designed the project. They designed the lighting system at the Legend Center for the original construction of the building, and they've been involved in the construction process or the design process of the expansion arena as well. So we went to PWA and asked them to do up some drawings for us to make sure that we get apples to apples, and they did so. We had a few submissions that weren't as per the equipment that we had requested. And I think that's some of the discrepancy in some of the high bids that came in. But overall, we were very happy. Majority of the bids were submitted as per the requirements of the RFP. So it is my recommendation that we accept the proposal from Albright Electric in the amount of $108,226, PST included. That is a savings of $26,774 of what we had in the capital budget for the project.
Okay, looking for a motion. Councillor Seed.
I'll make the motion to move that the contract for LED lighting upgrade for the Legend Center be awarded to Albright Electric based on the proposal for the project.
Seconder. Councillor Johnson. Questions or comments? See none. All those in favor? Carried.
Thank you very much.
Motion to file admin reports. Councillor Peterson.
I'd like to make the motion that the administration reports for April 12th, 2021 be filed as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Johnson. All those in favor? Carried. We'll move down to council reports. We'll start with mine. And as you can see, it's sort of almost old news by the time we get to council, because it's almost a week old all the time. And we did have our strategic planning and a great teamwork by everyone. It just shows what a diverse team we have. all coming together and all contributing to really our strategic plan and moving forward the city with many aspects. And we're seeing some of the challenges just even with growth and development, when we have some of the conditions we have, and those are real challenges, because we all talk about growth and being proud of the size you are and the opportunities here. But the other one I want to mention again, I mentioned at the beginning, but I do want to say it again about the variants out there and taking precautions, people not going out unless really needing to, and taking precautions when you do go out. We just don't want to be in a situation like Regina where everything gets mandated to be closed. And so do our best, move that forward and do everything we can and be leaders in that aspect in every way. And hopefully we can get through this in a timely fashion and get our vaccines and move forward. Any questions or for my report? A lot of pictures this time, so. Okay, I'll move down to Julian first to give a report, verbal report today.
I don't have a lot for you guys today. We just got back from the Easter break. That was from the 2nd to the 12th, I believe. So I don't really have a lot for you. Still waiting for some info about grad. I'm gonna let you guys know what the deal is there when I find out. And yeah, I don't know if anybody has any questions for me or anything, but I don't have a whole lot this week.
Any questions or comments to Julian? Thanks, Julian. I'm going to go a little more random today, so we'll start with Councillor C. Roundtable.
Thank you, Mayor Filipchuk. Again, we've basically continuation of the last report that I gave verbally to council. We are still in discussions regarding ambulatory care in Warman. I'm more than happy to share some details with any council members that have specific questions or concerns regarding that. Some of the topics that are being covered are definitely sensitive in nature with regards to providers and concerns, specifically addressing them. So perhaps on camera is not the best place to do that, but certainly we are continuing with the talks and they're encouraging. I think that as of the last meeting that we had, discussion that Mayor Filipchuk, City Manager Smith, Chief Austin, and myself were part of, there were some positive outcomes and maybe even better than we had hoped for as far as information that we'd received from SHA. So I am optimistic about that. We have a RCMP strategic planning meeting that is this week. Really looking forward to that because we've tasked the RCMP with coming back with several options regarding detachments in Warman, combined with Martinsville, and a multitude of different options. And they're supposed to be coming back to us with some hard numbers and possibilities on this. This will be a joint meeting with the city of Martinsville as well. And I really look forward to getting to that next step as we did in our strategic planning, talking about coming up with hard dates and times that we can really hold people to task. I think this is going to be a very, very big stepping stone with regards to that. The only other bit that I have to comment on is that I have followed up with a couple of members of Warman Fire Rescue regarding the new tender. They're all very thrilled with it. Of course, it's bright and shiny, so all of the guys should like it. But it is definitely it's a nice unit. Other jurisdictions around us have all come over and done the nickel tour, so to speak. And I don't know if their noses were rubbed in it a little bit or not, but they're certainly proud of it and looking forward to one of those tools that everybody's glad we have, and yet we all hope that we never have to use it. But at the end of the day, again, very confident that we're well suited there. And as everybody else has received, and I've spoken with Chief Austin a couple of times, it also appears that the drive-through clinic is going very, very well. Numbers are a little lower than expected as far as lineups outside the fire hall and such, but we're fulfilling our part, and that is having the fire hall ready, having the firefighters on standby or one per shift. That's been spread out quite well from what I understand, and there's been relatively low issues. In fact, I'm only aware of one negative reaction, and it actually wasn't to anything administered at our fire hall. It just happened to be somebody that was in the fire hall and had an anaphylactic reaction to another vaccine they'd received somewhere else. And luckily for them, they had a paramedic standing beside them. So it went very, very well. And by all accounts, everybody's doing well after that. So unless there's any other further questions or comments or concerns, that would be the summary of what has happened since the last report.
Thank you, Councillor Seed. I overpassed my, I need a motion to file my report. So thank you for continuing my report there, Councillor Seed. Councillor Tooley.
I move that the mayor's report for April 12th, 2021 be filed as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Seed. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, and we'll move to Councillor Peterson.
Just want to comment on the strategic plan. It was, I thought, a really great day. We had, like you said, we had a diversity of opinions and viewpoints, and I think it all came together in the end for some pretty clear direction for the next 3.5 years and beyond. I look forward to seeing what the final report is going to be.
Thanks. Councillor Ramage.
Thanks very much, Mayor Filipchuk. Similarly, really glad we had that opportunity to complete the strategic planning session. Really good discussion, and looking forward to that report that starts to set out our direction for the next 3.5 years, and again beyond that. The only thing to add outside of my portfolio is I was able to take part of a West Mental Health for Entrepreneurs webinar. And there are just a couple takeaways that I think apply to anybody. Just to share those is typically we're always celebrating those that are busy, and we're prioritizing those that seem to be focusing on productivity, but that we need to be able to step away for a moment and work on our own mental health as part of being productive. You can't let the pendulum swing too far either way. And the last point is you are what you absorb. We hear a lot about you are what you eat, but you are also what you absorb in terms of your thoughts, in terms of the media that you read. It really becomes part of a mindset. So part of trying to stay positive and keeping a good mindset moving forward. So just thought I'd take the opportunity to share 2 of those. Thank you.
Thanks for those positive words. Encouragement all the way through to everyone. Councillor Beck.
Yeah, thank you very much. My comments are pretty much limited to the strat plan also. This year was certainly great to be in, certainly like all in the same room, just with fellow councillors, and, to certainly, discuss those issues. And certainly, on a large number of topics, you can see a lot of commonality. Even though that we each had our different viewpoints and whatnot, things really did start to come together towards the end of the day. And I think that that's really constructive. Certainly going forward, knowing that we're really pulling all in the same direction, and to certainly have it where we can indicate to all of our administration, right from city manager and finance, right down through all of our different departments, about the things that are important, and that kind of thing. Sometimes when you only meet, like whenever you're doing budget time, this year it's like, oh, I don't like this line, I don't like this line, I don't like this line, and what can we do to let's say focus those operations that we have and cut backs. What's really nice about the strat plan is it's a lot of those ideas coming together, and you really see the priorities, certainly become organized and start to fall into place. So I'd certainly like to, recognize Morris Interactive for the work there that they did, in terms of leading us through and really keeping us on, let's say, on time, and also for our staff that was there, let's say responding to questions and things like that about their department. It really does show that we do have some quality administration and staff here that really do care and really want to see the best for everyone. So great job by all. To me, it was probably like the second best strat plan that I've been involved in, and that kind of thing. And let's say the other one was 2012 when we had done that here in Warman. So with this year, great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. You had us wondering what your first one was there when you said second best, but thanks for that. Councilor Johnson.
So I did a basketball clinic over the Easter break with little people, which was super fun, kept me on my toes. I'm normally used to the big kids. So these ones were high energy and just cute as can be. So it was really nice to get back into the gym and they were full. So it's really nice that you'd mentioned, Councillor Ramage, about mental health. That's a huge part of it, being physically active, and for them to be able to get out and be distanced but have fun and be active is huge. Prairie Reconciliation, we were able to get a date confirmed for the planning committee for the fall conference that they will be hosting. So that's exciting. We were all, I think there's 8 of us that are on the committee that were able to find one day that worked for everyone after the 3 attempts. So that was nice. And again, reiterating the strategic plan, it was amazing to see everybody hear everybody, and that we were all able to share our voices and be heard, and just to kind of be around the table with each other and learn.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. Councilor Tooley.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't necessarily have a lot to report on. A number of people have already touched on the strategic planning and how well that day went, and I would have to agree as well. And just as far as upcoming comes, Saturday, Mayor Philipchuk and I are going to be attending the Wheatland Regional Library, just their one of their regular spring meetings, and so we'll be attending that remotely. That's about it.
Thanks. And just great comments about the strategic planning. One thing that came out in the SWOT analysis is the strength, and one I talked to City Manager Smith about after is the people, both from council, the diversity, and all the different ideas coming through to all the people that are part of the City of Warman organization. So it's excellent when you start feeling that synergy together, great things will happen. So thanks again to the staff and all of council. We'll move down to accounts. Motion, please. Councilor Johnson.
I move that council approve the city accounts as presented by checks numbered 24993 to 25110 for the total amount of $627,302.51, and the payroll vouchers numbered 12039 to 12101 in the amount of $92,720.57 for April 12th, 2021.
Seconder. Councilor Peterson. Any questions or comments? Councilor Beck.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you very much, Mayor Philipchuk. I just wanted to point out this year I did ask administration about check number 25099. It was an amount for $475. This year, the description and the payee didn't make sense for me. I did get some information back on that. But this year, it's not a BMO payment to Collective Garden. This is actually a workshop that was actually provided by them. So I just wanted to, to let's say report that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn. Councilor Tooley.
I'll make the motion to adjourn the April 12th, 2021 regular meeting of council.
Seconder. Councilor Seed. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Have a good night.
See you.